All right, final feelings for Georgia and Florida State as we get ready for the Orange Bowl, which will be played on Saturday. We're poolside here at La Meridian, La Meridian. Listen, I think it's going to be a tough one for the Noles. They are just playing with too few guys that they typically would be playing with. They'd be a pretty significant underdog without losing all these players. And this is just a lot to ask for a program that is not at the level of Georgia right now. It's just not. So we'll see how it goes. I think one thing that I would watch for Georgia is if this does become a blowout, which a lot of people think it will. Las Vegas thinks it will. Who's going to look good coming out of this thing? Who are going to be like, is Gunnar Stockton? Does he look good? Or some of the young receivers who are sticking around, do they look good? There's a lot. There's a lot to learn in these games. There's always something to learn whenever Georgia plays. So that's one thing to pay attention to. I thought, Mike Norvell this morning, he was a very fast talking person. Um, Kirby looked extremely tired to me. But I think that, Georgia has had its practice schedule kind of goofed up a little bit with the rain. It's been raining down here quite a bit, or it was enough to disrupt Georgia's practices in terms of where they practiced. But this is going to be a really difficult game for Florida State to win. I think that Georgia. I'm not a real big watch the bowls and see, but I've watched Clemson absolutely struggle with Kentucky. I've watched Louisville get destroyed, for lack of a better term. Probably that's a little bit harsh by SC. Um, these two leagues are not at all the same. Florida State's the best in that league. So does that mean that they're notably better? Well, they struggled with Louisville and Clemson, and neither of those two teams really had stellar seasons. But I think it's not about Florida State in this instance. Although much of this game leading up to it has been about Florida State. I mean that's what it's been. It's been did Florida State get jobbed? Yeah, they did. Georgia got jobbed. I mean, it's just that's where we're at. But um, I think on the field, we're going to see who it's about. And my suspicion is it's going to be about Georgia, probably imposing its will on a Florida State team that's good and has a lot of good moving parts. But this team is a team that is, I would say, 4 points away from winning a national championship, and they have to live with that. They lost. They didn't beat Alabama, and you know that's something that they're going to have to grow from. And Saturday is step one in that growth. Is that something that's going to happen or not? It would be a catastrophic loss to Georgia for Georgia to lose to Florida State. I mean, they are a 20-point favorite at the time that I record this. Uh, you know, they have played in the last 14 seasons 26 games where they've been a 20 to 30 point favorite. They have won all of those games but one, which was the South Carolina game in 2019. They've won those games by a average score of 24 points. They have only played 3 games in that time where they have not won by double digits. One was against Kentucky, one was against the South Carolina loss, and I cannot recall the other one. I think the only one where they were such a huge favorite in Kirby's time and won by fewer than double digits was the Kentucky game I'm talking about. So Georgia usually handles business in a very big way in these moments. I think that I just personally get a little bit uncomfortable once these numbers go even higher against brand name teams, but they're brand name only. I mean, right now, Florida State, they don't have the same things in the packaging that they've had in the past. That's what would bother me, concern me a lot if I were, Florida State person watching this game. And, there's been a lot of pregame excuse making from not the program, but people around the program, folks who are sympathetic to the program in the media talking about Florida State, or you've got the governor of the state and the attorney general of the state and the senator, one of the senators in the state, complaining about the college football playoff. Hey man, get in line. A lot of people dislike what's happened with selections in the college football playoff. It's just what it is. We'll all live, but Does that distract Florida State? I think the biggest problem for Florida State, beyond those outside things that they can't control if Ron DeSantis is mad, but they can. They also, the other real problem though is that they just don't have the players right now. I mean, like the quarterback that's going to start in this game, I think has thrown 25 balls. The running back that's remaining, I don't think he has 50 carries on the season. So you're asking a lot of guys who are very young to go up, y'all, against one of the best defenses in America that is basically intact. I don't know if Smile Monday is going to play, but you're talking about one of the best defenses in the country. And in terms of Georgia's offense, I don't expect Amarius Mims to play. I think I just don't. I don't expect Brock Bowers to play, but I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could. If he plays and he's close to full blast, which he's not, see, that's why I would not play if I were Brock. I mean, listen, my thing for Brock Bowers is, bro, you've done a lot. You've done enough. You have done, your legacy is cemented. There's nothing more that Brock Bowers can do in an Orange Bowl game that he hasn't already done in other Orange Bowl games, national championship games, SEC championship games, and during regular seasons. There's nothing more he can add to his legacy. The guy's a three-time All-American. There's nothing to talk about here. And frankly, if Mims is not full go, there's nothing to talk about with him either. I mean, he is a professional football player, and he needs to treat his body as such. But everybody else is playing. I mean, you're talking about Lassiter, Bullard, McConkey, Beck obviously is coming back. Van Pran could have not played in this game. There's a lot of guys that could not play that had the ability not to play in this game that are playing. Well, why? What is the difference here? What's happening at Georgia that's not happening at other places? What's happening um, around the program that makes kids want to play? Whatever that juice is that they're drinking, they've done a great job of selling that to the kids, or the kids, buying it themselves and doing that themselves. So I think, this team is going to go into 24. This is the beginning of 24. It's the conclusion of something for sure, but it is the beginning of the future too. We were just watching Clemson and Kentucky play, and Matt, Ryan, and I were talking about the Liberty Bowl in 2010. Um, but in this case, you could talk about the Liberty Bowl in 10. You could talk about the Liberty Bowl in 16. They were both kickoffs to what the new future would be. And the new future for Georgia is not returning as a national champion to start a season. Um, we've not seen that in a while, frankly. We've not seen that in non-COVID times since the 19 season. So uh, what I expect tomorrow is the machine to take over and grind Florida State out. I just have to be honest with our audience. I just don't. There is no atmosphere down here as it relates to anyone. There's no concern about who is going to win this game. There's no notion that it will be someone other than Georgia. There is no drama to all of this. There's none, there's nothing. And I don't think that's good. I've gone to, I can't remember how many postseason games in a row, and I'm going to include the Cincinnati game into this and the Sugar Bowl in 19. It's been since the conclusion of the 18 season that this is the feel that we've gotten, and that was a different time and a different program. I think Georgia is much more cemented under Kirby, who definitely looks like he needs to get some rest after this. After this week, I know he doesn't get to do a lot of it, but I do think it's time to maybe get a few days where the phone is off and we're chilling out, because he just looks tired to me. And I'm not talking junk. I'm being honest. I think it's time for a cool down, because when he goes hard, and I think he needs some. It appears to me that he needs some rest. Now let's just see what he looks like tomorrow. But you know, from what I've seen and what I know of Kirby, that's just not the way he is. He has a hard time chilling out. He wants to work. That's who he is. But I do think rest is important in our lives, and I think there's time for that starting Sunday. I mean, we'll not have the crazy national championship weeks. You got to remember, y'all. I mean, this is the first time in some time that Georgia's not played for the national championship. In the last, in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, they played for the national championship 3 times. I mean, and as a reporter, that is chaotic. That is full blown chaos for that whole stretch of time leading to the semifinal games and then after that. And this time next year, we will be going from the on campus site games to these quarterfinals, and then like nine-ish days after that, the Orange Bowl will host a semifinal, as will the Cotton Bowl. So it will be a new paradigm next year, and it is too much right now. We're just doing too much, and we've got to find at least time um, for these coaches and just people to decompress a little bit. But I like Georgia. I like them big in this game. I want to see how they perform. It's easy to forget all Georgia's got with Kendall, Edwards, Delp, possibly Brock Bowers, Marcus, Ladd. They've got a lot of explosion in this offense. And on the defensive side of the ball, this is going to be the last game for guys like Zion Logue, et cetera. There's just a lot of guys that are going to get their chance to shine one last time at Georgia. And it's not about me. I remember the last time I played in a sport that mattered, in a game that mattered. And I still remember where we were and what that was like. So you do carry those memories with you for the rest of your life. Kirby's last game, maybe last game at all as a competitor, was the '98 Peach Bowl, just a dramatic win over Virginia, with Quincy Carter coming back to lead the team into a 33-31 win, something like that. So right on the stroke of midnight in Atlanta, and how Georgia has grown from that time, and not all of it due to Kirby, but a lot of it lately certainly dealing with Kirby. But it's hard to get up for these games. We came down here knowing there were particular things we wanted to do while we were in Miami, and we're going to try to get that done. But I like the Noles. I like the Dogs to beat the Noles pretty easy. But we'll just have to see. They're the ones that got to go do it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.